How's it going, metalheads? Welcome back to another video. This is going to be an interesting kind of video, and I know I say it a lot, but this one's interesting in the way that I'm not going to be talking about music a whole lot. I realized, I've been reflecting a lot and stuff recently, and I realized I haven't really talked about, the whole creative process of my videos at all. And I kind of want to discuss that because, the channel just turned 1. And I think it would be kind of interesting to look at, all the stuff that I've learned over, a year of making YouTube videos and how I've evolved as a creator. Because I think that the starting out process for creators doesn't get mentioned a whole lot. Like everybody, talks about all the stuff that you do when you're a big creator. But nobody really mentions how, the starting out process works. And I know it's different for everybody. But I wanted to discuss how it was for me and let you guys know, what I've learned and all the stuff I've been reflecting on. So if you guys like this video, let me know, because I haven't really talked about the creative process a whole lot. I mainly just talk about my content. But if you guys want more videos like this explaining how I, my thought process behind videos and stuff, I'd be open to doing that in the future. But anyway, mainly this reflection was brought on by me going back and watching my old content. And, obviously I've grown in, the visible ways. Like I have a channel intro now. There's more editing put into my videos. But then, there's also little things, like my background's changed a bunch, obviously, but I've gotten a set one for a while now. And I have lighting now. My lighting used to just be my computer screen lighting my face up. And so in the old videos, when you see it go off and me click something, that's me clicking my mouse to turn my computer screen back on because it was dark. So I learned how to not, just use that as my lighting. I learned a better camera angle. A lot of the ones you see were like kind of down. I was looking up. That's because my computer screen is behind my phone. And I was having to look up at the computer. But I learned, to use a different kind of screen, especially for the videos that have scripts. That's another thing I learned. I used to just go off of my brain and what was on my big computer screen, but now I actually, at least not for the opinionated ones. For the opinionated ones, it's kind of just more from the heart, but for the ones that are like talking about albums I missed or stuff like that, I'll write down some notes or album reviews, stuff like that. I'll, write some stuff down and then actually have a script, because then it's a lot more disjointed and it flows more freely. So I kind of just want to talk about that kind of stuff because it's interesting to see the growth, from a year ago. I've gotten a little more comfortable behind the camera in my earlier videos. I was talking a lot quieter, and I don't really know why that is. I think it's partly because I didn't want, other people, who live in my house to know that I was making videos and stuff like that. And it's not because I didn't want them to know. It's more just like, I didn't know how they'd react to it. So yeah, I've gotten a lot more comfortable behind the camera in that regard too. Whereas, before I was kind of like, are people going to like this? And so I was kind of like, iffy on it. But now I've gotten a lot more comfortable talking to the camera and talking to you guys, which really helped the videos, evolve from, just being something like record, post. Now it's more like, I put effort into it. Obviously I turn the light on and, I think about what I'm going to say and all this kind of stuff. I sit in the chair and then afterwards, I put the channel intro on and I make a thumbnail and stuff like that. Thumbnails are important too. A lot of my old thumbnails were just, a part of the video that I clicked on. Whereas, I actually try to create, something visual to get people to, engage, because that's kind of important. If it looks boring, then people aren't going to engage. So yeah. But yeah, I've also got a lot better at, pronunciating my words. I still screw up sometimes because, and this is a thing I have, in other parts of my life, not just YouTube, where sometimes, my brain knows what I want to say, but I can't articulate it, so that's why I jumble up my words. But by pronunciations, I mean, like, I've gotten a lot more clear at speaking in front of the camera. In a lot of my earlier videos, I say, what's going on, metalheads, and it sounded like muddleheads, because I just be like, what's going on, metalheads? Because I was trying to get it done quick. Like I said, I didn't know how people were going to react, so stuff like that. I've just gotten a lot more comfortable as a creator. And the creative process has been more interesting too, because now that I actually, have trust, I've built a fan base. Not a big one. I'm not saying a big creator by any means, but I have definitely some consistent viewers who I really appreciate, and they've allowed me to, grow my audience and, what I want to do on YouTube. And so I've thought a lot more about what kind of videos to make, because before, and it's still, just what comes to my brain, but before it was like, what do I think people will click on? Because that was how I thought creators thought. But now it's more like, what do I want to talk about? Which is way better. And honestly, it gets way more views. Just me talking about what I want to talk about instead of thinking about what people will click on. So that's pretty important as well. But yeah, your YouTube has taught me a lot. even my music taste has grown. If you go and watch some of those older videos, I definitely talked about stuff that I probably wouldn't say now. Obviously, you know, I have a lot bigger collections of stuff. You guys watch the merch updates and the CD collection updates and all that kind of stuff. And my music taste has grown. I've grown to appreciate more, you know, complex, you know, rhythm patterns and, you know, artistic values in the music, and a lot more stuff that I would think was, you know, kind of weird or out there before. So yeah, that's just interesting to think about as well, how I've evolved in a year. Because aside from the YouTube, it's been a pretty, you know, interesting process to look back at. And, you know, I can kind of look back over the last year of my life through the YouTube videos, because, you know, I'm still young. I'm just 18 now. I've been 18 for about 2 months now. So, you know, it's interesting to look back at, you know, when I was younger, because as you get older, you develop less and less year by year. And so I'm still at the stage where you're developing a lot year by year and learning stuff. So it's interesting to just see how, you know, in terms of music and also content creation on YouTube has changed over that year, because, you know, back then I didn't know how it worked, and I've always had a adversity to social media. I don't think it helps a whole lot, and I definitely am aware of the fact that YouTube is a social media platform, but I've always enjoyed YouTube more because I feel like long-form videos are less about mindlessly scrolling and more about learning things and, you know, taking things in that you enjoy and getting your message out there. So I've always, you know, had a pull to YouTube that I didn't feel with the other ones. I've never had another social media besides YouTube. But now that I see that other ones can actually be, you know, helpful in some ways, and I definitely see how I could do this with other platforms. Maybe not the long form videos, which is where I really find, you know, obviously the shout outs are where I started my channel on, but I do feel like my long form videos are what I put a lot of effort into. And those have gained more attention lately, which been great to see, people wanting to watch my content, which is cool. But yeah, sorry, this is kind of a ramble, but I kind of just wanted to spit out some facts and you know, some of my observations about me changing and reflecting over a year of YouTube. So yeah, if I had any advice for young creators or people who are just starting out, it would definitely be make your videos look, you know, presentable, and not just for like the audience. I mean, like, you know, don't be sitting in a dark room. Like, look like you want to be there, like you put effort into it, because at the end of the day, if you feel like you put an effort into something and people see it, they're going to watch it more than, you know, if I just, like I said, film a video, hit post. Yeah, obviously I've evolved more than that because I have a channel intro, all that stuff I mentioned. So yeah, and consistency is also key. You know, I know my background's changed once, but the shout outs have been the same. It's just me talking to the camera, telling you about a band you should go listen to. And I feel like most of the videos have been the same. It's just me talking about what I want. So if you're consistent and you stay with it, you don't get burned out. That's also some advice I would give to a young creator, is pace yourself, because I've definitely gotten burned out in the past and had to take some breaks. But pace yourself, be consistent, and people will eventually, you know, the algorithm will push you into your audience, and you'll find your audience. And that's what's been happening to me. Like I said, not a big creator by any means, and I'm aware of that fact, but we are, you know, over 400 subscribers now, which is crazy to me by any means. I never thought in a million years that over 400 people would, you know, want to watch my content on a regular basis, or, you know, subscribe to me on anything. And even when my average for a full-length video is probably like, I don't know, 15 views or something like that, it still blows my mind that 15 people want to watch that video and watch me talk to my phone. So which is awesome. YouTube's really been a way for me to grow as a person, because it's shown me how, you know, the world can actually be really accepting of people who are different, and also just people who want to talk about what they love. And that's really what YouTube's about for me, is, you know, expressing what I love and wanting to share that with other people. So sorry about this rambling video. But I was just thinking about that a lot, reflecting on, you know, a year of YouTube and how my videos have evolved, and I thought it'd be interesting to share with you guys. So if you guys like this kind of video and you want more maybe like advice driven videos instead of just like a ramble about me, definitely, you know, put that in the comments, because I'll definitely be open to that. But you know, from here on out, we'll be back to the metal stuff, because that's what my channel's about, and that's what I'm here to do. So yeah, hope you're all doing well. Have a nice day. See ya.